Mr. Panzironi, tonight we are going to do a very important, in-depth scientific study because we are going to talk about one of the most common diseases of the modern era. We are talking about gallstones. The gallbladder, then, is also called the gallbladder for those who obviously want to be more informed. So let's go right into what this is all about with this video.
Gallstones are similar in size to tiny pebbles, and they develop within the gallbladder, a small pouch that is connected to the liver. Situated beneath the liver, the gallbladder collects bile that is produced by the liver. Afterward, it releases the bile into the intestines to aid in the digestion process. Imbalances in bile's different components can lead to the precipitation and buildup of certain substances at the bottom of the gallbladder. Consequently, this can result in the formation of stones made of cholesterol, calcium, and even bile. The presence of these stones can cause various problems within the gallbladder.
Is there any other information or details you would like to know or add about gallstones, Mr. Panzironi? Professor Sergio Alfieri has recently shared some valuable insights on the subject matter.
I would say to explain to our audience what bile is. Basically, it is a substance that is produced by hepatocytes, poured into the gallbladder, and serves precisely to emulsify the fats we eat, thus allowing us to assimilate them, but also to destroy bilirubin. Just think that every day we produce about 1 liter, and it systematically accumulates from one meal to the next.
Listen, though, how widespread is the pathology of gallstones?
Well, it is a real national emergency. Do you think 15% of the population suffers from it? We're talking about more than 4 million people. And then there is the problem that this pathology can also bring serious problems such as inflammation of the pancreas and therefore also be fatal, 3 to 4% of cases when there is precisely this inflammation.
Dear Mr. Panzironi, here at The Health Seeker, our main objective is to furnish crucial health information to promote public education. Consequently, I would like to present you with a highly informative video that focuses on the signs and symptoms commonly associated with the presence of gallstones.
Biliary colic is the sole symptom attributable to gallstones. It occurs when the gallbladder contracts intensely, forcing the stone towards its mouth and causing blockage. In response, the gallbladder attempts to push the stone further, leading to a shift from a normal contraction to a painful one. This results in the characteristic pain of biliary colic, which begins near the stomach and occasionally moves towards the right side, persisting for at least half an hour. This definition of biliary colic is recognized internationally. It is a severe localized pain that triggers physiological contractions initially before turning into a distressing sensation. This entire process is entirely regulated.
Let's see it. There, he was Dr. Floriano Rosina, who basically explained to us what the symptoms of this condition are. However, I can tell you that just one of these very strong pains practically leads to the hospital.
Well, yes, those who have had these problems and continue to have them tell us about really excruciating pains that really are almost unbearable. But let's say that at least these people have the opportunity to have a very simple diagnosis and then understand that they have to intervene and somehow solve this pathology. If anything, the problem is really those asymptomatic people who are still at risk of having life-threatening pancreatitis, even though they do not know they have this condition.
Here you are using some very harsh words, and so I think it is very important to make our viewers understand how serious this kind of pathology is. So precisely because it is serious, we have to go and see how official medicine, dogma medicine, manages to, let's say, provide the treatment protocols for this very pathology. And we do that with this video.
There are individuals who can live with gallstones without experiencing any discomfort. However, it is crucial to address the issue promptly to prevent potential complications in the long run. Surgery remains the sole solution once the problem has been diagnosed.
There's currently no therapy available to dissolve gallstones. Even if it were possible to remove the stones from the gallbladder, they have a tendency to reform, making this approach ineffective. Therefore, the necessary solution is to surgically remove the gallbladder itself, which is the pouch that holds the bile and all its accompanying stones.
So, Mr. Panzironi, the renowned Professor Roberto Maria Tacchino expressed to us that, unfortunately, there is currently no known cure for this particular ailment. He strongly advised that the only viable option is surgery. In fact, he further explained that if feasible, it is ultimately better to remove the entire gallbladder, as this prevents any potential recurrence of gallstones. I would appreciate hearing your thoughts on this matter.
Well, I can tell you that these statements make me think that this is not medicine, but medical butchery. You see? It is deemed justifiable to carry out this type of surgical procedure on individuals who clearly exhibit an advanced state of disease and subsequently have an impaired gallbladder. However, I am of the opinion that resorting to preventive measures through the mere removal of an organ seems to be an incorrect approach. This brings to mind the practices of doctors from 2 decades ago when faced with repeated tonsillitis, whereby their solution was to extract the tonsils, presuming that it would resolve the problem. Unfortunately, they failed to acknowledge that the underlying issue lay in comprehending the root causes responsible for triggering the tonsillitis.
The suggestion is to focus on determining the underlying reasons behind gallstones instead of resorting to excessive surgical interventions. The emphasis should be on understanding the root causes before considering drastic measures.
Without a doubt, if nature has blessed us with the presence of a gallbladder, it signifies the importance of taking proper care of it, unless there exists a compelling justification for its removal. Nonetheless, certain medications hold the misguided belief that they possess a level of intelligence superior to nature itself. They fail to acknowledge the overwhelming evidence that supports the effectiveness of alternative methods in dissolving gallstones. A notable example would be the studies that have demonstrated the ability of statins to inhibit HMG coreductase, ultimately leading to the dissolution of gallstones. This groundbreaking discovery should urge us to reflect upon the underlying factors contributing to this condition.
However, Mr. Panzironi, medical professionals possess some theories regarding the origins of gallstones. I will display a video for your observation, and afterward, kindly share your thoughts with us. Let us proceed.
Actually, the stones either form, meanwhile they form because we have parents who tell us so, our genetics commands. Familiarity is very important. When then a diet rich, for example, in cholesterol, in fatty substances, when you gain weight, when you have an unbalanced diet, in a certain way we can have the precipitation, for example, of cholesterol, and then we have cholesterol stones. What are the whitest ones we have seen in familial? The whiter ones we've seen, we repeat what you said, so if they form because of what? Because of genetics, familiarity, because of diet, watch out for fatty foods.
The broadcast
Panzironi,
indicates
I
that
am
the
almost
occurrence
afraid
of
to ask
stones
you
is
what you think about these
significantly
statements
impacted
because
by
we have
genetic
understood that
factors,
practically the
familial
occurrence
traits,
of
and a
stones,
diet high
from
in
what they
fat
have said in
content.
this broadcast,
Considering
depends
these
on genetics,
conclusions, I am
familiarity,
uncertain about
and a
hearing your
high-fat diet.
opinions.
First of all, you know very well that when I hear these doctors talk about genetics, I realize that it's just an excuse because they didn't understand the real causes, so they blame it on genetics that way. You see, another mistake that medicine makes is to think that fats are responsible for this pathology. If anything, it is exactly the opposite. It is fats that are protecting us from the occurrence of this pathology. And instead, the causes actually of this occurrence should instead be traced back to carbohydrate consumption because it is sugars that are the real culprits of gallstones.
So basically, again, the culprits are the foods of the Mediterranean diet. So bread, pasta, pizza, potatoes, legumes, rice. You have to explain why, though.
Look, the mistake that this medicine makes is that they have obviously identified that excess cholesterol emulsion induces precisely the appearance of stones. So they always make this point that we reduce fat and cholesterol intake, well, we solve the problem. Instead, we have explained very often that it is instead the very sugars that we eat, eating bread, pasta, pizza, potatoes, rice, and whatnot, that activate insulin, and insulin acts on this enzyme in the liver, which is called HMG-CoA reductase. And it is these enzymes that then in turn induces the overproduction of cholesterol, which then clearly spills over into the gallbladder. And when too much cholesterol goes to increase, then the overproduction with the other metabolites present, then gallstones form.
So you're saying that basically when we eat sugars, we increase the production of endogenous cholesterol. And then this goes into the gallbladder or the cholecyst, in short, into this organ.
Yes, basically it happens in this way. What happens is that on the one hand, we have an excess precisely of insulin production acting on this HMG-CoA reductase. On the other hand, we have an activation of proteins present in the enterocytes that lead to an excessive assimilation of this fat and cholesterol from what we eat, and even an excessive efflux into the cholecyst. And so it leads to precisely this phenomenon.
In reality, however, we are now used to hearing that nature is perfect, our body is perfect. So why is it that the gallbladder does not have a mechanism to eliminate excess bile, to overproduce cholesterol?
Well, it actually has it because the gallbladder does nothing but push bile out. It does it through the activation of a hormone, which is cholecystokinin. We have presented this hormone many times already. It is produced by the cells of the base of the stomach. Every time we eat fat, we basically produce cholecystokinin. This goes to stimulate the gallbladder and push out the very bile, and so it would actually solve the problem. What do we do instead? We reduce. For people who have these problems of gallstones, medicine advises to reduce fats because they are deleterious to this condition, and it makes us introduce more carbohydrates. So not only do we have this phenomenon of increased cholesterol, but also we don't even allow the gallbladder to eliminate it, and therefore we obviously have stone formation.
I thank you, Mr. Panzironi, for this fundamental explanation of yours. That is a key explanation also to understand the guest we have here in the focus this evening, because she has to explain to us what was her pathway to recovery from cholecystic calculi through the Life 120 study, which is why I am inviting Ms. Roberta Moghetti from Rome here on the study center. Good evening. Ms. Moghetti, I invite you to take a seat. We usually thank, of course, all the witnesses who come here to sit down. Tonight we thank you doubly because I would like to say, you said not to say it, however, it seems right to me to say it, because you just today had a problem, a small accident with your ankle and you could not move. However, you wanted to be here this evening. We are live, and so she was here. We thank her doubly to you. Like our own Adriano Panzironi, we also make transparency our strength, and so we say everything that happens. So, Ms. Moghetti, now let's go and talk about something that was there. So let's go and take a snapshot of the past. So, first of all, you had been suffering from digestive problems such as reflux, pyloric incontinence for almost 25 years, right? Exactly. What kind of issues were they giving you?
Severe gastric pains, continuous digestive difficulties, and a feeling of heaviness in the stomach fixed.
So, in short, she was not really serene, but at some point, about 10 years ago, she discovered that she was suffering from gallstones. First of all, how do they present to her?
Then these pains I had were followed by colic, very violent colic, pains all night long, a night of pains.
By the way, that's it, colic, because we have personally heard several people telling us about this colic. First of all, I want to ask you, how often were they coming, and then the duration during this night, and also how severe maybe they were, the pain. Do you want to give us a little bit of insight?
Initially, they used to come like once a month, once every month and a half. Then this time started to be shorter, so 2-3 times a month, until they started to be there once or twice a week. And then really disabling, because then the pains were violent, so much
once so twice,
that
yes.
You even sometimes go to the emergency room. And they would last all night.
All night long, yes. Look, were you trying to treat this part of the problem, that is these colics, were you trying to treat them with any medication, or were you using other methods?
The time of pain is the classic Buscopan, and then with heat, that is, as long as you don't run to the hospital, all home means the fixed hot water bottle.
Look, however, during one of these colics that are so terrible, you have to run to the hospital and they do an emergency ultrasound. What do they find? What do they tell her is in that gallbladder?
The gallbladder was completely diseased. It was full of stones, kidney stones, including a very large one, about 4 centimeters in size. So it had to be operated on urgently. So they activated the whole protocol of pre-hospitalization.
To operate immediately, because, I mean, it was very serious. So what does she do? Does she agree to be operated on?
No, because as I heard Adriano say, that is, if I have a cholecyst, you can see that it serves a purpose.
Something.
So before you touch it,
It is better to think twice. So you, however concerned and attempting a solution, turn to a plant-based, quasi-vegetarian, less fat type of diet. She experiences improvements by eating this way?
Initially, yes, they were no longer once a week. However, after a while, even this kind of eating, fat-free, plant-based centrifuge did not give me that complete well-being. It was as if I fasted. Then fasting, there were no pains. However, it was enough that I ate a little more seasoned rice.
Did not have more this kind of problem. Problems. They would come back. It's true that all you had to do was put a little more fatty food and her colic would come back. Then fortunately for her, of course, she decides to start following the Life 120 lifestyle. How does this decision happen?
Happens watching the TV show on television, finding all the scientific remarks made by Mr. Adriano Panzironi really right and appropriate. And so I am convinced to completely change my eating pattern and fully, completely embrace the Life 120 lifestyle.
Once you fully embrace the Life 120 lifestyle, after how soon you begin to have or feel improvements, have positives.
Look, already that 15 days passed, I had not had a colic. Already it felt like a very good result. I was always waiting. Maybe now it's coming. Maybe I haven't had colic for 2 years. 2 years?
However, knowing the Life 120 style, I know that the Life 120 style takes out carbohydrates and then adds fat. So she was eating fat anyway, both meat and obviously other foods. When she still ate foods that were a little more fatty, did her colic come back?
No, no, absolutely not. That is, I decided to embrace the Life 120 style. I introduced plenty of fat while eliminating carbohydrates, carbs, and I did not have a colic.
I didn't have a colic. Then, going back to that talk of truthfulness and transparency that we pride ourselves on, she obviously went a few weeks ago to get another ultrasound because she wanted to make sure what she had. That is, she had had very good results, but she didn't know what she still had. So she went for the ultrasound, and what was the result?
Look, I did it very much out of curiosity, but I was sure of the results that would be there because the body talks, the body speaks. 2 years without colic and a greatly improved quality of life. But out of curiosity, I do the ultrasound, and the doctor himself asking me, okay, why I wanted to do this checkup, told my story. He didn't believe what I was saying. He said, but are you sure that your gallbladder was bad? Was it full of stones? Yes. The result was that there were very few of them left, placed in a non-annoying way. The gallbladder is normal, no longer a throwaway gallbladder. And thank you.
And also her liver, which was slightly steatosis.
Had a strong onset of steatosis, which is normal. And also the analysis
is back. Even the test, listen though, you left our entire audience, both at home and here, with a question. Because we started that you, 25 years ago, had problems both with digestion, you had problems with incontinence of the Pyrrole, with reflux. Now, how are you doing with your stomach?
Good. I have no discomfort, but I have had many benefits. It would be long to list, but from teeth to mental clarity, many The biggest ones for sure are the ones we have recounted.
Thanks to Mrs. Roberta McGurty. Thanks to you.